Hello there again. Marvin Kilborn here. I'm a retired public school teacher, just continuing to tell my story. The last video I did was part one of Tatum High School in Tatum, Texas. Tatum High School was the last school I worked in. The last video was about my first 2 years there. There were a couple other things that I had forgot to put on there, but I just believe they're important enough, at least important enough to me, to include them here. Just a couple things I overlooked on that 32-minute video that I did a couple weeks ago. All right, when I had initially got hired at Tatum, very first day, I've told you before, that first week before the kids come back, teachers are in meetings and trainings and setting up rooms, get ready to teach, all this kind of stuff that you do to get ready to teach the kids. So the very first day I'm there, and it's not like I'm super nervous or anything, but anytime you're starting a brand new job, you're scoping things out, getting a lay of the land, kind of feeling people out, getting an idea of the camaraderie, the team spirit, the esprit de corps, if you will, the nature of where I'm going to be working. And this one woman who I'd mentioned in my last video, Lou Pudu Janawati, she was just really overbearing. Now, Lou, for one, she's not a natural-born American citizen. She's from some little island nation, and God bless her. I mean, she's a sweetheart, nice lady. Everybody loves her. But the thing is, she's just in over her head. She's up there. They had assigned her to be my instructional coach when I don't even need one. Wasn't qualified to teach Algebra 1, so how was she going to coach me anyway? But anyway, she kept asking me, she kept badgering me that very first day, and I don't even know the woman yet. I'm just, here you are, and she's badgering me. She keeps talking about something called Think Through Math. Now, I know what Think Through Math is. I've seen this crap before, and actually Think Through Math is one of the problems with public education, where we have so damn many teachers that apparently can't do their jobs, that the districts, administrators, they buy third-party software, programs, applications, all this other garbage to compensate, I guess, for the fact that the teachers can't teach. Don't get me wrong. Many, many wonderful, gifted, talented, caring, compassionate teachers in public education. I was fortunate enough to meet a lot of them along my 15-year journey. But my God, there are so many that really need to go do something else. Maybe they were just drawn into education for summers off or something. Who the hell knows? But there are a lot of really bad teachers. And in Tatum, they clearly had a series of really horrific Algebra 1 teachers. The highest pass rate on that Algebra 1 STAR test or state test before I came along was like 79%, well below the state average of 83, 84%. But anyway, Lou Pudu kept badgering me about, are you going to use Think Through Math? And I'm like, I know what Think Through Math is, but I also know I'm a gifted, talented teacher that doesn't need gimmicks to help me do my job. So I finally just told her, I said, look, ma'am, I said, let me take a look at it and decide how I'm going to use it, or if I'm even going to use it in my classroom. Well, she just snapped at me, said, well, Mr. Kilborn, we bought it, so you are going to use it. And keep in mind, I still don't know who this bitch is. I mean, not really. Just some woman who works for the district and was asking me if I'm going to use Think Through Math. Anyway, yeah, I said, well, let me just get through this week, and I just want to get into my classroom and start doing my job. Not interested in all this preparatory crap. So anyway, that's how that went. There was another. Oh yeah, they ended up forcing me to use Think Through Math one day a week. So on Wednesdays, I had my students use Think Through Math, and it was a garbage program. I hated it. The students hated it. Most of the kids didn't even use it. They would just get on their Chromebooks and go find a gaming site, and they'd sit there and spend the hour playing games. And honestly, with the way the year started, I'm like, fine. I'm not going to babysit this crap. I mean, if this district is not going to trust me to do my job, then to hell with it. Let them sit there on their damn Think Through Math. And of course, if you recall, at the end of that year, we had a 93% pass rate on the STAR test. So I lobbied really hard to not have to use that Think Through Math again the next year. I said, you know what? Yeah, we got a 93%, and that's pretty darn good. But if the district had not forced me to give up 20% of my instructional time on a garbage program like Think Through Math, maybe we would have got more than 93%. You know, how about 97, 98, which 97, 98% is what I got the following 2 years. So yeah, kind of proved my point there, and thank God. And then, of course, the idiot, John Wink, who was an assistant superintendent, he's the one who came up with all this crap anyway. And thank God at the end of my first year, he accepted somehow. This former choir director who had never even been a teacher somehow got hired to be a superintendent in a small district in North Texas. So anyway, good riddance. Nobody was sad to see John Wink go. Guy was a clown. One of the things he had dreamt up was he was into all this technology crap, and he had created this spreadsheet called an IU template. I believe IU is instructional unit template, and it was basically the vehicle by which teachers would submit their lessons or lesson plans to the administration. But it was an arduous spreadsheet this guy created. He broke it up into all these little time slots where first couple minutes you were supposed to do something called a bell ringer or a warm-up activity, and then there was something called a depth of knowledge question that we were supposed to do, and then we were supposed to spend a certain number of minutes on the warm-up and a certain number of minutes introducing the lesson, and then the students were supposed to have a certain number of minutes to actually practice on their own or work independently, and then another section was a few minutes as group work if you were going to do group work instead of individual work. Then at the end there was like a warm-up, a warm down or cool down period, and something called an exit ticket. It was a joke, and nobody received, or I didn't receive, any real training on this stupid spreadsheet, which was really just garbage. And part of what was funny about it is I had went to Tatum from art. Well, in art, we weren't required to turn in any lesson plans at all. Just do your job, and nobody really bothered you. Tatum, it was the polar opposite, man. This guy wanted everything written down to the minute, you know, and every one of these little blocks on his spreadsheet had to be filled out. And this was an interactive spreadsheet, so the administration could actually go on my IU template and message me through this IU template. Well, I hadn't received any training on how this stupid thing was really supposed to be set up. I've got my own lesson plans. I've got my own lessons, and I've been teaching Algebra 1. This is, I think, my 4th year by now. So I've got a pretty good handle on what I'm planning to do every day and how to teach Algebra 1. But apparently some of the feedback that I would give or try to give on this stupid spreadsheet, and clearly I didn't get any training on how to fill it out. So I'm apparently not filling it out correctly. Well, the idiot Shaniqua McBride, if you remember from my last video, she's the one that got basically fired right before Thanksgiving break, but she was a pain in my butt on this IU template. I mean, I'm here to do a job. I'm here to teach. I'm not here to spend all these hours filling out this stupid template. But for her or for the higher powers, John Wink, it was super important, this spreadsheet that nobody but administrators even looks at. Matter of fact, teachers hated it. Teachers didn't even use it. We just had to fill the stupid thing out, and that's what I did. I'd fill it out for the entire year and just do my job and not worry about the template. But of course, that took a little getting used to. But McBride once wrote me, Mr. Kilborn, I haven't figured out whether you're willfully disobedient or simply incompetent. This woman who managed to get a 55% pass rate on the algebra test is saying I'm being willfully non-compliant and probably incompetent. My God. And she also courtesy copied that email to the assistant, the superintendent, and my boss, Mr. Cook. I'm like, my God, I hope this woman gets pulled on the carpet for this, because you don't talk to people like this. This is not the way to interact with people. Lady, you work in the same building as me. You're right around the corner from me. If you got something to say to me, why don't you come and talk to me or ask me, or at least acknowledge that, hey, Mr. Kilborn, have you received any training on this spreadsheet? Anyway, the spreadsheet. God, that thing was horrible. And sad to say, Tatum still uses that piece of shit when they should have gotten rid of it. And a little bit more on that here in a minute. Another thing I noticed, they had taken me when I signed my contract and when I first started setting up my room, I went into my room and there was like this shoe rack. You've seen them, this big plastic sheet, and it's got all these pockets in it. Well, a lot of math teachers use that to put calculators in. Some teachers use it to have the kids put their cell phones in so they're not playing with them during class time. But anyway, it had there was about 5 or 6 calculators in this rack, and they were all broken. And I mean willfully broken and destroyed. The screens were shattered. These are Texas Instruments graphing calculators. The screens have been busted out of them. Somebody had taken the little springs that hold the batteries into the back and just yanked and pulled all those springs as straight as they could. I mean, just somebody had taken it upon themselves to say, you know what, we're going to destroy these calculators. And then, of course, when I saw my actual classroom set of calculators, they were in bad shape. I mean, a lot of them were broken. Screens were scratched. A lot of them didn't work. Faceplates, a lot of the faceplates were cracked or broken or not there at all. A lot of the buttons, the keys on the calculators were rubbed raw, where the kids couldn't even tell what the symbol was supposed to be. That made it a little more difficult for me to teach the kids how to use these calculators. So my very first year, I immediately start lobbying and asking for a set of calculators. I mean, a classroom set of calculators, of 30 calculators with the charging stations, is only $4,000. Sounds like a lot of money, but that's really not too bad for that type of calculator. But I was asking and asking and asking for these calculators. Okay, that's kind of a quick recap on my first year of Tatum. This video is really supposed to be about my third and fourth years. So this is part 2 in my 3-part series, or really 4-part series on Tatum ISD, Tatum High School. So the end of the first year, of course, John Wink, the idiot fool, gets hired to be a superintendent somewhere. Good riddance. Everybody's glad to see him leave. As a matter of fact, this character is now the superintendent of schools in Carthage, Texas, making almost $250,000 a year. Unbelievable. What a country, huh? Guy's nothing but a choir director, but he gets to be the superintendent of schools. Crazy. But so anyway, I got through my first 2 years. They're pretty great. Sad to say, the end of my second year, D. Hart, the superintendent, decided to retire. Alan Cook, who was the principal and truly the godsend, he really straightened out that school. He decided to leave. And I know he had a family emergency, but I also know for a fact that one of the main reasons he left was because he knew who the next superintendent was going to be. And the next superintendent was going to be a clown named J.P. Richardson. Now, there's another example of education gone wrong. J.P. Richardson was nothing more than a former second grade PE teacher. For God's sake, second grade PE, never even a real teacher. But somewhere, somebody liked him, I guess. He was somebody's fair-haired boy. So he gets his master's in education, which is another joke degree, and goes into administration. A few years later, he becomes an assistant superintendent at Tatum. And then another district, the name escapes me at the moment, but another district hired him, Gladewater. Gladewater ISD hired him to be their superintendent. So he went up there as a second grade PE teacher. He's now going to run the entire district. So he did that for a few years. And then when D. Hart retired, the district needed to hire a new superintendent. Now, this is another area where education just gets effing stupid. Whenever a district hires a new superintendent, they have a change like that, they typically employ the services of this agency. I can't remember the name of it, but they basically go to the district and they talk to the teachers, they interview the teachers, they go through this dog and pony show trying to figure out what type of superintendent this district's looking for. And it costs thousands of dollars to do this. And then they also send out the invitations or advertise the job. So all these other principals and superintendents who might want that job will apply for it and then come for an interview. Well, they do all that nonsense. They spend all this money, spend all this time, and it's all a game. It's all for show. The damn district knew all along they wanted this J.P. Richardson character to come back and be the superintendent. And I know for a fact that even though Alan Cook probably never said this and probably wouldn't admit to it, I know he was no fan of Richardson. And he definitely was not happy because he knew that this Richardson character was probably going to come in and be making the same amount of money as D. Hart was making, even though D. Hart had been there for years and years and years. This brand new guy's going to come in. And sure enough, Richardson makes, again, close to $250,000. What a system. Decide to become a teacher, become a non-teacher like second grade PE or choir director or kindergarten teacher or even elementary school teacher, and gee, get into the right clique. Next thing you know, you're a principal, and next thing you know, you're a superintendent. Don't have a clue what the hell you're doing, don't have any idea how to teach, don't know what it takes to be a teacher, but you get to be in charge of the whole kit and caboodle. So anyway, then since Cook left, they hired a new principal. Now our high school, decided to put together a team of teachers and go to these other schools, these people that were applying to be our principal. They went on little road trips and went interviewing. And if memory serves, I think they really only went on one damn road trip, went to one school. Could be wrong about that, but I think they just went to the one. Interviewed this guy named Matthew Quick. Now, Matthew Quick, neat guy, great guy, nice young man. He's in his middle 30s. I mean, he's a decent guy. I had a lot of decent conversations with him. I actually kind of like the guy. But he's also, sadly, another example of what's wrong with public education. The man, at least he was a teacher. He taught high school biology. And that's one of the things our little group was looking for. They weren't trying to bring in another choir director or a PE teacher or a coach. They wanted a real teacher to become our principal. That's good. And for the most part, it was good. One of the problems, though, is Matthew had only spent 5 years in the classroom. And during the 3+ years I knew the man, worked under him or with him or for him or however you want to put it, we had a number of conversations. And he had admitted to me that, he said, Mr. Kilburn, I spent my 5 years in the classroom. It liked to eat my lunch. And he told me that he decided that if he was going to stay in public education, since teaching probably was eating him up, he needed to find a different direction. So basically that's why he became an administrator. Make a hell of a lot more money and don't have to deal with the daily interaction with the kids in the classroom. A lot less work being an administrator, a whole lot less work. Teachers bust their asses. These administrators mainly just walk around with their coffee cups pretending for something special. So he had spent his 5 years. What else had he told me? Oh yeah, he did tell me. He told me once he did become an administrator for the money. So there you go. Another problem. Where I've said in other videos, these people need to spend at least 10 years in the classroom. You know, if you can't make it through 10 years, then bye-bye. Go find another job. Go do something else, or just stay in the classroom or whatever. But you shouldn't get to become a damn principal or superintendent in only 5 years. That's insane. So anyway, these two guys come in. They don't make any changes. There's no improvements. And honestly, they inherited a pretty damn good thing. D. Hart had been there for years. The district basically ran pretty well. The majority of teachers in Tatum, very, very happy to work there. It's just really, well, I stayed there. So it wasn't horrible. If it had been horrible, I would have left, but I did stay. But I found it just, all of a sudden, it just became very unsatisfying to work there. Partly, these two new guys, Richardson and Quick, they come in, and even though there wasn't really a lot they needed to do to make improvements to the district, they still could have tried. Richardson sent out this little questionnaire thing that everybody in the district, he wanted them to fill out. And a lot of it had to do with, is there anything you're dissatisfied with in the district? And yeah, there were a number of things people were dissatisfied with in the district. One of the main things was that stupid IU template that John Wink created that we all still were suffering under. We were requesting they do away with that, come up with a more streamlined method of submitting lessons to our administrators. It's not hard. I mean, in Henderson, it was just a one-sheet spreadsheet, date, objective, lesson. I mean, it was real simple. And then in ARP, we didn't require nothing. And then in Tatum, they created this piece of crap that took just it could take an entire day. I mean, it's just crazy how you did it, but it takes a long time to fill this stupid thing out. And then just to be criticized for not filling it out correctly, oh man, they lost teachers over that stupid thing. And I almost quit over that. If you remember in my last video, I mentioned I've written 2 letters of resignation before the first 6 weeks were up, and that was part of it. One thing, I'm sorry, I keep backtracking to the first year, but if you remember from my last video, the superintendent then, D. Hart, had teachers stand up and talk about how great the district was and what made Tatum such a great district to work for. And a lot of them just said family. Now that year, it was Barbara Puckett, who's still there. God knows why. She could have retired at like 80% pension 10 years ago, but the woman's still there, just showing up every day, teaching the best kids you can. She teaches pre-calculus, algebra 2, and mainly juniors and seniors. So she's got a really sweet ride there. So I guess I don't really blame her for quitting, but it's kind of stupid to work for only 20% of your pay, because again, she's been in it so long, she could be drawing 85% of her pay as pension. So yeah, she's not working. She's kind of wasting her time, but that's her time to waste. She can do it if she wants. But she was the department chair and still is. And that first year there was 5 of us math teachers. 4 of us were brand new to the district. And I'd asked Miss Puckett, I said, hey man, since we're all brand new here, are we going to like go out to lunch or go do something just to kind of sit around and chat and get to know each other a little bit since we're all brand new? And she goes, oh no, we don't do that. I go to lunch with an English teacher, and if you guys want to go out and get to know each other a little, go ahead. But no, I'm good. There you go, Miss Puckett. Represent the family of Tatum. You're the department chair, and you can't be bothered to maybe not have lunch with your little English teacher friend for one day so you can go out and meet your own crew. You're a brand new set of math teachers. Crazy. All right. Not a heck of a lot more to do except the calculators. I mentioned the calculators earlier, where I've been asking for calculators. Well, we had a lady, Jennifer Malone, who had served as assistant superintendent the year after Wink left, but then they realized that Jennifer Malone wasn't certified to be a superintendent. So that was funny. They're stupid. They hire her to be an assistant superintendent, even though nobody was smart enough to check whether she was qualified to be an assistant superintendent. When they finally woke up to that fact, they retitled her. They left her at the administration building, but changed her title from assistant superintendent to just chief of curriculum instruction and assessment or something. So anyway, she was a nice lady, and she knew that I'd been asking for these calculators, and anytime I saw her, I'd remind her, ma'am, I need calculators. I'm trying to teach these kids, and I'm doing a good job, but these calculators aren't making it any easier. We need newer, better calculators, just a new version of the Texas Instrument calculator. Well, she bought a classroom set of calculators through, district funds, and pay for them herself, of course. But she bought me, and she told my principal, Matthew Quick, told him, look, I bought Mr. Kilburn a set of calculators. They should be coming in, and he's been needing them. He's been asking for them, so they're for him. Well, they come in, and Miss Puckett snatches them up. She claims that as the department chair, and since her calculators were in such bad shape, and I guess she had more broken ones than I did, she determined she needed these calculators. So there you go again, Miss Puckett. What a great Tatum family you're fostering here. You're the superintendent. You take the calculators Malone bought for me and kept them for yourself. So yeah, that kind of stuck in my craw. So during this last 3-4 years in Tatum, I was definitely burning out. I mean, I was still doing my job. I was still excited to do my job. I still love interacting with the kids. I love teaching. But the crap that I was experiencing all along my education journey, and once the good guys, D. Hart and Alan Cook, left, well, Tatum High School became basically just another, and Tatum ISD became just yet another school district. Nothing special. Um, I remember meeting Dee Richardson for the first time, and actually that my third year, Richardson's first year back in Tatum after about an 8 or 9 year absence. At the beginning of the year, that third year, this video was supposed to be about years 3 and 4, right? So at the beginning of the year, we have our convocation. And Richardson, who most of us, a lot of us, are meeting for the very first time, he decides to get up and tell this story. And I guess he thought it was a funny story. But he started talking about how he'd reached an age in his life where he is now kind of serving as a parent to his own parents. And he told this story about how his mom and dad had a kitchen fire, and his dad in their house. And the dad was having to fill out the insurance forms to get the damage fixed. And Richardson is helping his family, his dad, fill out the forms, and I guess they're a little confusing. Well, as a second grade PE teacher, these forms probably are confusing to him. But he's confusing, and he notices his dad uses USAA. USAA is essentially a military type of insurance program. And he asked his dad, Dad, why do you use USAA? And his dad said, Son, they call me Sergeant. Now, having served in the military for 22 years, I know what it means to walk into a facility and be recognized for your service, to be recognized by your rank. It means something. They don't just give out sergeant stripes. They don't give out ranks in the military. You earn these ranks. Now, his dad had been in the military, some version of the military, for I don't know how long. Maybe he was retired. I don't know. But he was a sergeant in the military, and it meant something to him for the people that he had to interact with to call him sergeant. It was important to him. Or Richardson, thinking he's funny and not really knowing all of his audience, says, Dad, you were only in the Guard. Now, I'm sitting there as a retired military guy, 22 years, retired Air Force Master Sergeant. Well, I have to say, at least nobody really laughed. Everybody knew that was in poor taste, especially with things that are going on in the world. But this clown uses the very first time he's meeting us as an opportunity to essentially insult his dad and insult the military. You were only in the Guard. Well, Richardson was never in anything. And what's funny is Richardson's one of these clowns who along the way decided to pick up the Ed.D., the glorious, infamous education doctorate, this make-believe piece of shit, pretend doctorate that these educators go get, mainly just so they can be called doctor. And Richardson's one of these guys too. He likes being called doctor. When he first got to the district, he decided to have something called, he would have donuts in the morning for anybody that wanted to come over and meet with him. And he called it Donuts with Doc. So yeah, he loves being a doctor. And I'm like, wow, you made fun of your dad for appreciating being called sergeant. Now, sergeant actually means something. Your dad earned that. It meant something. He served his nation in the United States military. You, clown, you just a damn Ed.D., a pretend doctor who never even served. So anyway, I got to say, pretty much lost me right there. And Quick started losing me pretty quickly too. I mean, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. I tried to give him credit. I mean, I realized he was a young guy in his mid-30s, and this is his very first principal position, probably trying to do the best job he can. But he fell into a bucket of roses anyway. I mean, Mr. Cook and Tom Shepard and a lot of us teachers had already straightened out the high school, so it was running really smooth. We were no longer having a lot of problems or many problems at all from the kids. It was a well-run machine. So all Quick had to do was get on the horse that Alan Cook had just got off of and just keep riding. He had just a cush deal. And he took advantage of it. I mean, you never saw him too stressed out about much. I mean, hell, how could he be? All the teachers are doing all the work, and he's just kind of showing up, putting in his time, doing what administrators do. But with his lack of experience, he made some pretty stupid decisions along the way. One, as far as I'm concerned, he made a bad decision how to handle me, him and Mr. Richardson both. I'd already proved myself over the previous 5 years that I know how to teach Algebra 1. I'd never gotten less than a 90%, actually 92% pass rate on the STAR test. I know what I'm doing. Tatum was getting horrendous scores before I got there, everything below 80%. And I come along my very first year and popped 93%. So I was treated my second year. Mr. Cook basically left me the hell alone. We didn't have meetings about test results and how I was doing preparing the kids. Mr. Cook was smart enough to realize that I knew what the hell I was doing and it'd be best to just leave me alone. Well, then Richardson and Quick come in, and these people aren't quite so bright. They're not quite so smart. They're stupid and young and inexperienced. And one of the problems with them is they were young enough where they grew up during this participation trophy bullshit that was foisted on this country. So they weren't really raised in a way where they understood that you should really recognize individual effort. No, everything's about team effort and teamwork. And the crazy thing about education, public education, being a teacher, it's about as far away from being a team or a team effort or teamwork or group effort or whatever you want to call it. It's about as far away from that as you can get. Teachers are stuck in that classroom all by themselves, teaching their kids with little to no help from anybody at all. The occasional visit from an administrator, and if you've been there long enough, you typically see the administrator maybe a couple times a year, mainly just at the end of the year when they do your little evaluation, which again, as I said in another video, is just garbage. It's meaningless. It serves no purpose whatsoever, but they still feel like they need to evaluate teachers. Well, anyway, Richardson and Quick come in, and just like that, I'm once again being treated like I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I need to be babysat. So, and it's not just me, it's every tested teacher. You know, math, science, English, social studies, all of us tested teachers. At the end of each 6 weeks test, we'd have to go in and sit down with the principal and answer his stupid ass questions about how the kids did on the test and what we're going to do to correct it, how we're going to reteach, all the stuff that teachers already know to do. We're sitting there having to explain to this brand new principal with only 5 years of teaching experience under his belt. So it's not like he's some damn expert. And then he's asking us all these questions so that then he can go turn around and try to explain to a second grade PE teacher what real teachers are doing in their classrooms to get results on those state STAR tests, those state academic tests. So I got tired of doing that really quick. I mean, I kind of gave him the benefit the very first year. I'm like, okay, you guys don't really know me. But what I know is you guys aren't even smart enough to look at the previous scores in this school, see who taught those subjects, and make determinations about the ability of the teachers teaching those subjects. No, you're typical public school administrators. You're fucking stupid is what you are. You come in, pretend like everything's brand new, like it's Groundhog Day or something, and you go through your little, you use your little checklists, and you never engage your actual brain to be making any real decisions. So you just treat all the teachers like they don't really know what they're doing, even though they all know way more better how to do their jobs than you ever did, because Richardson, for one, second grade PE, are you shitting me? You think you know how to teach? And Quick, with your 5 years of experience, and then you admitted to me that you couldn't hack it as a teacher. I'm now supposed to turn around and we're all supposed to respect you clowns? Oh my God. It just got so old. And of course, my third year, my fourth year, my fifth year, and even going into my sixth year, we're still having these stupid ass meetings where every test I'm having to explain and basically answer the same questions over and over and over again. It got maddening. Well, like I say, there were some other things, but that's basically my second and my third and fourth years in Tatum. My next video will be about the fifth year, which really did all kind of come to a head. My fifth year is when, you know what, I'm done. You've killed my spirit. You've killed my enthusiasm. You've killed my passion and love for this job. But anyway, more on that in my next video. That one will also cover COVID. You know, my fifth year in Tatum is when COVID came along. So anyway, we'll talk about that next time. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment, subscribe if you'd like. I've only got a couple more videos to do on my story, and then I'm going to do videos just reacting to crap going on in the world. And Looking forward to that, actually. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.